XSPOC, then we add another dimension. And now, before we were kind of just talking about the benefits of the pump-off controller out there that, that runs the well less hours or more hours per day. You could do that without any software. But now if you add this host software like XSPOC, now you can do comprehensive monitoring, data analysis, and full optimization. Because optimization comes in where you can use not only the analysis data, but you can use tools like XROD and RODSTAR and XBAL alongside of XSPOC to do optimization. So those all fit together and they all work in a seamless way and share data with information. It makes it very easy for the optimizer to have all these tools at his fingertips and have a very powerful system to do optimization. And much of this happens automatically. For example, the analysis, we're going to go out in the middle of the night, gather that card data, analyze the well, and produce all the results, and that all happens automatically for you. Again, like I mentioned earlier, when you come in the morning, you can actually literally open up XSPOC and say, give me all my wells that meet this condition. That condition being some type of a pump condition or something you're interested in looking at. And the data is right there for you, so very powerful. Some of the things that we've talked about, some of these already, but some of the things that you're doing, you're monitoring and you're surveilling. You've got the expert diagnostics. The program XDiag that John's probably been talking to you a little bit about this week, that's embedded into XSPOC. So you don't have to run that as a separate program. It's actually analyzing this information as it comes in and running a full analysis on your wells. Optimization, power management, well data management. We have a lot of information in XSPOC. So it becomes a very powerful well data management tool. So you're going to have your equipment information in there. You're going to have a very powerful database that has all this information, including not only what's happening today, but historical data. So what was my well producing 6 months ago? Or what are my run times? How have they changed over the last year? All of that historical information is contained there as well. Alarm notification, like we've talked about. And then just your ability to tune these controllers and really optimize them. And let me just say a little side note here. There are lots of people who have put in pump-off controllers that have had disasters with trying to use that technology. And most of it came in because they didn't really understand how to use the technology. You can put in a pump-off controller, and if you don't really have it set up properly, if you don't have the right idle time in there, or you don't have the peak load and min load settings correct, or you have some other wrong data in there, it can actually really mess up your operation. It can have the well shut down when it really shouldn't be shutting down, or running too long and continuing to damage equipment when it shouldn't be running. So what the challenge is that if you have just a standalone pump-off controller and you have to go to the well and look at that little LCD screen and try to really set your controller up and see what's happening over time, it just gets to the point where people don't do it because it's so cumbersome. But if you can have all this data at your fingertips and you can really see, well, it looks like based on my runtime and my cards, it looks like I need to make an adjustment on my pump-off controller. I want to have it down for more time than I had it before because I see there's an opportunity here to have some inflow before I start my well back up again. All these kind of things that you really need to do to optimize your pump-off controller, these set points that you can modify that change how your well operates. It's very difficult to do that if you don't have all this information in front of you. So having this gives you the opportunity to really optimize how you have that controller set up. When we're talking about failures, every time you have a failure, I don't care if it's in an oil field or any type of equipment, this could be in your automobile or whatever, there's some type of a failure that happens or begins to happen. This could be a worn pump. This could be a catastrophic failure like a rod part. This could be that the belts come flying off of the pumping unit, right? So any of these types of things that are going to impact your production, you have a failure, and at some point you detect that. So the question that you need to ask is, in your operation, how long does it take between a failure and the detection of that condition? And I know that if I go back again to my early days at Shell, just relying on well tests and not having a lot of good surveillance, this timeline between when a well started having problems until we found it, sometimes we get lucky and find it in a day or two, but a lot of times it might be 2, 3, 4 weeks before we really had a confirming answer that this is what's wrong with this well. And during that period of time, we might have lost some production because our well wasn't operating optimally. So that's one of the key questions is how long is it before you find your failures after they happen? And then after you detect them, you have some kind of a length of time until you repair that well and get that thing back online or get it operating optimally again. And this entire timeline is your opportunity to try to increase production or make more money for the company. And so we want to shorten this gap as quickly as possible. And where automation comes in is from here to here. Hopefully, with an XSPOC system and good pump-off controllers and all the equipment's working properly, the radios are working properly, and all this is working right, hopefully the failure to detection should be on the order of less than a day, maybe even minutes, depending on what type of failure you have. And you're not sitting there waiting for 2 or 3 weeks to figure out what's wrong with your well. So that's what we're really focused on here, is this part of the timeline. Let's just take an example, just to optimize. And I know a lot of you guys in here, you already use automation, so you've already justified this stuff. But just to give you an example, if you look at just a 100-well oil field, just you had 100 wells in a field, and you got some of these typical results, like 30% electrical savings, 30% pull cost reduction, just a 2% increase in production. These are some of the numbers that would play out. We're looking at just wells that produce 15 barrels of oil per day at $70 per barrel of oil. And you can see these three major components here, and they add up to about $1 million in potential either savings or enhanced revenue from those opportunities. And 100 wells with an average production of 15 barrels of oil per day, which is probably typical of a lot of the wells in the United States. So these are the kind of economics. This is the savings or revenue that can be derived from that. If you automate 100 wells